Welcome to the Soul Sisters series, where you'll get thought-driven, inspiring topics for your soul with Vaughn Solis and Brenda Rachel.
Okay, so welcome to Soul Sisters Part 14. I'm Vaughn.
I'm Brenda.
And together we are the Soul Sisters. We're still sisters after all these years. Okay, so as said in previous episodes, we are keeping going.
We sure are.
As we come up with an idea.
Yes. Yep.
And we're ad-libbing, right? We basically ad-lib all of our sessions. Yeah, because we don't know what's going to come out of us, and we talk about things that are just kind of maybe what we're going through at a moment, whether it's personal growth, consciousness expansion, which we're always expanding our consciousness. So today we're going to be talking all about maintaining vibration. And that idea, we were just talking, were we texting? I think we were texting or on the phone last week, and we just said, it's like, we just have to stay in vibration with us. So let's do a topic on that. So that's what we're doing. That's why we're with you here today. At the time of this recording, we are at October 29th, 2024. And I'm getting the episodes out a lot faster now because I've reduced my workload. And that means that I don't, do as many podcast episodes, and I stay a little bit more current with what's going on in my life, and when we do Soul Sisters, your life as well. And so I just think it delivers really valuable content because I'm in the midst of huge growth expansion in my consciousness. And so as I go through that myself, there's stuff I want to share.
Exactly.
And you do too. And so that's how we keep ourselves energized.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about last time in part 13, we were talking all about how to stay in a solution-oriented mindset. And that is more of a focus on physical, what happens when we have challenges, physical, all that sort of stuff, and what we do sort of emotionally, physically, even mentally, to kind of keep ourselves in the flow. So it's the same kind of idea, the same sort of stream. But today, for my part of this, and of course, this you'll contribute what you need and want to say as well. A lot of what we say sometimes, if you've heard our previous episodes, some of what we say just gets channeled to us.
Oh, absolutely.
In the moment.
It all does. Nothing's pre-planned.
Yeah, but I mean, well, some is like not pre-planned, but when I'm saying something and then if we get like a super message to share, it's generally coming from the angels, which we're both angel healing practitioners, and they form such a part of our lives, right?
Yes.
That we just don't live without them.
No.
Like, I can't even imagine.
They're my best friends, my confidants, my everything. So
yeah. So getting right to it, sis, let's talk about maintaining vibration. So, okay. So one of the reasons I'm in a spurt of huge growth, and you already know this, is I had a guest on my show who is an activist for world peace, and she's a channel for Einstein and has been for like 4 decades plus. And her episode aired November 6th, so 2024. And so she talks all about our origins, and we got into a really wonderful conversation, if you're interested, in the mathematics of our origins, essentially. And this is information that just completely, it's kind of becomes a life practice. And she wrote a book called Imagining Einstein, and I actually just ordered it yesterday, which is why I was in major joy, because I actually got her book. I did a reading. Her name's Barbara With, WITH. And I did a reading with Barbara a couple days after I did the interview with her. And it was the best money spent, number one, but also it absolutely, and I won't go into detail, but it absolutely clarified my whole entire reason for being on this planet, in this incarnation, what I set for myself, and who plays a critical factor in that, which happens to be my daughter, who died by suicide in 2005, but who is still I'm just going to say entangled, but kind of cross-pollinating with my energy. So she lives within me in my gravity space, and it's really complicated, and I can't even, spew back what I understand inherently. But as I told Barbara on that episode, I don't always have the words to say back to you when I'm trying to make it simple for other people just listening. But I was editing that. Actually, I was editing that now, like last week, this week. So by the time this airs, her episode on November 6th will already be out. So that is an absolute amazing one to watch if you're interested in our origins, according to Einstein, who channeled to her after he died and got the whole picture, using compassion as what they call the fifth fundamental. And the whole entire reason for our being is to tie into that. It's a vibration. And to tie into that, within ourselves, in other words, get the ego under control, be led by intuition, which compassion is the voice of intuition, and allow ourselves to be guided to everything we do in our life, how we want to live, our purpose, all that stuff. So I have a little bit of, a few weeks ahead of you on this and in digesting, and I decided to be a student of Barbara's in terms of her books, and Barbara as a channel, and see where that leads me. But it will be a very slow process because this stuff is sort of hard to digest if you're not a scientist. And she is not, by the way, but she spews this stuff out like we're talking about, making a grocery list or something. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. Anyway, the bottom line is it made sense for me. And everything's rooted in sort of vibration. Everything has its own vibration and its own frequency, which actually creates the objects that you see all around us, ourselves as physical beings, etc. So, well, we don't want to get that deep, obviously, because one, I can't talk about it, and two, that's not what we're here to do. The essential points that I want to make, and Brenda, I think you do too, is that none of us would question that we are vibrating.
Right.
But I want to clarify for me, what I came to understand recently is it's not about high and low vibration. It's strictly about speed. Fast, slow, faster. That's it. And so if we understand that in vibration, everything vibrates, okay? Forgetting again the equation. And you know what, it's really too hard to understand how a vibration would turn something into a solid and stuff like that. But it does. And one of the things Barbara said to me, she said, it's like, think about gravity. You can't see it. You can't smell it, but you know it's there and it's working. So she said, energy is the same thing, and vibration plays a part of that, frequency and all of that. So you just got to get kind of trust. But whether or not you believe in any of this stuff, if you do not believe in vibration, this episode's probably not for you, and you'll probably be leaving it at this point. If you do believe in vibration or are just curious and kind of go, yeah, I get it, but I don't really get it. Well, we don't really get it on the large scale either, but we trust that we vibrate. And I know if I'm going to touch a light socket and my finger's wet, I know I'm getting shocked. Even though I really can't necessarily see the energy of electricity until all the blue lights start, or there's a lightning storm or something like that. And actually, I lived in a log house, and I used to get shocked in a period of time after Janaea died. And for the first several years, I was in a very, very, very open state, I would say, with vulnerability. And I couldn't touch certain light switches, dry as a bone, my hands, without getting a shock.
Oh, wow.
I guess I didn't tell you that.
No, I didn't know that.
Bren came to our log house, and right, it's a beautiful house, and I would go down the steps. So the critical ones were the stair going down to our basement, which was finished, and we would hang out there a lot and watch Netflix and all that stuff. And I would just, I knew I was going to get that shock. And there was another light switch, and I can't remember. There were two of them in the house that I always got shocked.
Oh, wow.
And it was enough that it was like, ooh, like, ouch.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we are like vessels. That's the wrong word. I can't think of the word I want, but we are, I don't know, help me with that word. It would be like conductors of electricity and for electricity, which is our energy inside. And it stands to reason that we have our own vibration, which has given us our unique identities. but in a larger sense, the one vibration that has given us our human existence. All right, enough of that. So if we turn to a very basic premise of spiritual thought, principle of the spiritual thought is that higher vibration equals really good. Lower vibration is sort of a denser, um, slower energy, if you will. So what it would take to create, a chair or any object, a quartz countertop, whatever, is not necessarily going to be, or not at all going to be speeding as a higher vibration as what a human would take. And one thing interesting that Barbara shared with me, and I'm still digesting this, folks, and by the time you see this in a few weeks from now, I'll still be digesting it. But we talked about the afterlife, and we talked about, well, where do we go when we lose our physical bodies? And she just said, well, we go into dark matter, which I'm not going to talk about here today, but I said, people are too afraid of the word dark, black holes, things like that. Okay, she said, you can think of it as vibration at the speed of light squared. And I'm like, okay, well, how fast is that? As fast as seeing a movie. As soon as you think it and project it, that's how fast it is. Can't even contemplate it, really. I mean, I don't comprehend it. I mean, right? Really?
Yeah.
So thinking of ourselves as these amazing beings, like just amazing beings, which Barbara, me, and I'll wager you think most of us don't appreciate enough the complexity and the magic of us, right? We might if we give birth, and at that moment say, oh, it's a miracle. And then, I don't know, the kids grow up and they start bugging us and, and all this stuff. And, and we still love them, of course, but we forget about our miracles. We forget about ourselves as miracles. We forget about each other as miracles, okay? We forget about our planet as being a miracle. And we forget about all the goodness in this world that really could run this world as an absolute miracle that we can create and shape and form if we really all wanted to, starting from within and as an individual. There, that's my sermon. Okay. But I had to lay the context for this because you can't just start talking about vibration. And especially if you're sort of new to this kind of stuff and not what? So this is why in my very, very rudimentary fashion, that's my understanding of it. And we've been at this for decades, since the early 80s, in terms of a real sort of metaphysics and spiritual. I started with the book Atlas Shrugged, and then I went on from there to different things. But, the whole idea of we can create what we want. You and I have talked about this many, many times. But where does that creation really come from? And what state do you have to be in to really live a harmonious, peaceful, beautiful life? I'm not saying unchallenged, but that predisposition gives you a step up in how to deal with annoyances or challenges and get yourself back to center and back to balance immediately, or take a day, whatever. But the knowledge that you can do it is what's key here in being able to maintain that overall state of how you want to function, what you want to bring into your life, how you want to bring it into your life, although the universe responds to us in its own way, so that never really works the way we want it to, not usually. Who you want to be with, who you want to bring into your life. I mean, I manifested my husband, and he kind of manifested me too in the way we met and stuff, and that we've been married 33 years. I met both my children in spirit before I had them. My daughter today would be 41, 42 in February, and my son is 32, and I met both of them in spirit before they were born. In my daughter's case, 10 years before she came to the planet, and my son's case, it was about 3 years. And they looked exactly like they did when I saw them in visions, what Barbara would say is projection. So as this energy is fed back to you, and and you're cross-pollinating with other energies, which I actually believe our children waiting to be born do that. They cross-pollinate with some of us, and their energy's coming into us, and kind of, I'm going to choose you. I'm going to be your mom. I mean, I'm going to be your son, or I'm going to be your daughter. And I actually have met other parents, moms who knew what the sex of child that they were going to have. But for me, and this is going back to 83 when I had my daughter, but in 82 and my son in 92, I had him. And so already by 1991 and certainly 82 and 91, I was already, but actually it was 10 years before I had Janaea. So already in 72, I was dreaming about her, the little baby, this little baby. And she was half West Indian, and honest to God, she was beautiful, beautiful. Probably could throw a picture of her up here. And she looked exactly like she did in my dreams when she was born. And by the way, my son Skylar, he didn't come to me in dreams, but I would be resonating in that. And I remember buying a little picture of him. I was in university at the time, and mid-20s, and I bought a little picture, a little framed picture of this little cute blonde, curly, blue-eyed boy, and it was sitting in a little tweed, pale blue coat. It was like British, and it was probably a picture from the 40s or something because it kind of looked just post-war, sort of that feel to it. And didn't my son look almost a spitting image of that little guy when he was 2 or 3? And you remember how cute he was, and blonde curls, blue eyes, and all that stuff. So what I'm saying is getting, staying, either being born and blessed with. Now, here's what I'm going to turn over to you. With this innateness of waking up to that knowledge, even though we're novices, of there's something more, but then taking ourselves on a journey, making that decision at whatever age we do, to go on a journey into the unknown, and kind of trust, even though it can be scary, and open ourselves up to this whole unseen world. Going back to what I was talking about at the beginning, right? So I'm not sure if that, I think we choose the incarnation to do that, and we set ourselves up to wake up, however long it takes us, and achieve what we can. And once we're woken, okay, which is a lifelong journey, but do you think that's just something we choose as the incarnation, and then we're just lucky as heck that we've woken up?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I guess for me, I believe that everything happens in divine order and in synchronicity, and that I have created absolutely everything that's happened from my birth to my death.
Right.
And so,
But waking up, when did you know, if you can remember it, sort of what age did you sort of know or yearn for this more knowledge? Or you would look at I would look at the sky when I was a kid and just kind of know there was more, but I didn't know how to frame it. But that you were here to learn more than just be a physical human being.
oh, I don't know if I've really ever looked at it that way. I've come into different teachings that have advanced my understanding of who I am as a human being on this planet. But
What drew you to those teachings, though? Churches that weren't fundamentally, after you were fundamentally, in the Baptist and all that, what drew you to that science of mind? Curiosity?
I don't know. I think it was just innate in me to
Right.
I have no idea. I can't even tell you how I found the church or went to my very first church service. I don't.
But I will just throw in here as a little joke. Brenda's losing her memory. That is truly not a joke. I can't even remember something I was telling her 5 minutes ago. So, okay, I won't ask you any more questions about memory. Okay, no, memory, don't do this quiz on me, please. No, that's because I've astral traveled in the last half hour or 10 minutes or whatever, so I can't remember what happened. And listen, due respect to people who do have problems with this, but we're just talking and having a little bit of fun here. With both of us, I'm late 60s and Brenda's almost 71, and we've talked about our age before. And so, we do tend to, what?
I think it's actually because I've traveled into a couple of other lifetimes while I'm sat off.
There you go. She is vibrating at the speed of light square.
Yeah, squared.
And I didn't even see her go.
Or come back.
Wow. So there concludes our episode. Thank you for watching. You just have to vibrate at speed of light. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's pretty funny. Anyway, all right. So all right. So I had a reason. And I'm not going to go into detail, but I remember thinking very broadly when I was pregnant with Janaea at 25 years old, and I thought I was going to lose her, and I ended up at the Unity Church, and we talked about that in our first couple of episodes, our stories about how we kind of found ourselves on the quote spiritual path. So, but for you, if you're new to this, or you and you've been questioning, I think all our lives, and we can get deeper and deeper into this. I really think it has to do with our questioning as like human bodies and mentally, because we have to have something going on for us in the brain and our mind to kind of put us in touch with the unseen, everything that happens in the unseen, none of which can be proven per se. Some of the science can, and that's what quantum physics is all about, which scientists are more and more embracing for different things. And also they are researching consciousness right now, and they're also researching dark matter and what's really in dark matter and dark holes and all that kind of stuff. But again, getting this back to a state. So instead of just talking about it in terms of vibration, but we now know you can travel as fast as Brenda, right on a podcast. But at any rate, no, seriously, to just understand yourself as energy, I think is a really good first beginning.
And I just want to throw in, I went first class.
Oh, okay. Nuclear energy, perhaps.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thinking of yourself as energy and keeping it in energy, and really what we want to get at here, and I think we probably should, is to keep yourself in that state. So when you have a bunch of these annoyances, life in general, challenges, and I'm definitely not talking here about tragedies, guys, if you get hit with something hugely big, but I am saying that's what saved me in becoming a bereaved mom. Is I'd already had 23 years in this kind of thinking, and it grounded me. It was enough. It was the only piece of my foundation I hung on to. Everything else I lost. But that's a different story. That's another story. But so just in regular everyday wanting to create and, either expand on the life that you've already got and go, geez, well, I'm great. I'm doing, but there's this one piece missing. So it's to find, link to passions, to find purpose, to live in peace, to be surrounded not by other people's crap. Okay. Which is especially hard to do if you're surrounded by people that aren't in the same journey as you. Right. But so it's to keep yourself no matter what's going on. I really want to retire and I'm not quite there yet. I want to change jobs. I'm not quite there yet. I want to move houses. I want to find a partner. I want to do this. I want to buy whatever. I want more money, whatever it is. Keeping yourself in that state of trust and faith. And at this point, I'm not going to even say hope, because if you're living like this, there's really no need for hope.
You just know.
You just know.
Yeah.
You just trust, right?
Mm.
So how do you do that? How do you stay centered in that? And I'm going to call it consciousness at this point, because we're consciously aware and all vibration is happening in conscious. Okay, we can't see our consciousness. My belief is that it's all of creation, and there's some proof to that as well. So if we just understand ourselves, though, that we're part of this huge, huge system that is consciousness, creation, how in your little tiny piece of it, in your little tiny world, right, do you keep that vibration you've got humming along at a state where it's your natural state, your absolute natural state, to be humming at that speed, that, sort of that speed. I don't even know if I should say frequency, because I think that might be a given that that's what it is. Like, you're turning the dial to this station. That's the radio station you're on. You're on. You're turning your dial to this, frequency. You're a human. So I don't know enough about that yet, but we can control what kind of humans we want to be. We can. You agree with that, right? Like our mind state. We can manage our mind state for the most part.
Well, I believe that every thought I think creates something.
It does.
And so if we talk about vibration, then thought is vibration and creation is vibration. And so it's a revolving or a rotating and revolving process. So you put something out into the universe and it's delivered in a very positive way. If the intent is there and you absolutely affirm the intention and you know that it's there, it's there.
Right. Right. We're talking about good intention here.
Yeah.
Good intention.
Yeah.
Because when Brenda's saying, and I, of course, obviously agree with this, that every thought creates what we're thinking.
Well, no, when you say good intention for me, I can only speak for me. And so my intentions, when I put them out into the universe for whatever it is, whether it's for better health or it's for better memory or it's for opening up space for new things or whatever it might be that I'm looking for, that I will create something with that thought process.
Mhm.
And so, but you obviously can do it with negative thought as well. I'm not focusing on that at all because we have a choice at any given time. We have the parallels. We have positive and we have negative, and they're floating probably right beside each other. And, we can step off at any point. Like, I mean, I've been in very positive places, and within seconds, something has happened in my world, and I'm not in that positive space anymore. I'm in the other lane.
But you know how to get yourself back.
Yeah. It's all thought. Everything stems from thought. We as human beings, we can't create something I don't believe I can create anything in my life without it having started in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It has to come from some operating system somewhere to become a physical, like that I can see it.
Well,
Manifestation. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it doesn't just fall into my lap, and it didn't come from somewhere inside of me.
Yeah.
Right. Do you understand?
Oh, 100%. I've done a lot of work on this.
Yeah.
And so thoughts,
Mhm.
I remember talking to a therapist and saying, what comes first, thought or emotion? And the study that they had been involved with said thought comes first, and it's highly linked to emotion.
Mhm.
And so, you said something that has always stuck with me. Each thought weighs the same.
Yep.
Each thought weighs the same, and I absolutely love that because we're always thinking. Oh,
Always.
God, we're always thinking, people. So if we're always thinking and adding the vibration piece, so I 100% believe that different words carry different vibrations, and you can do some research on this. There's some cool research on that.
Mm.
And so the words that we put in our head, and we give them meaning. Okay. Like, yeah, look up in the dictionary what it is, but technically someone's decided that each word means something,
Mhm.
but you can change the meaning of a word. You can dismiss the meaning of a word. And here I'm talking about things that are hurtful to us, that we use against ourselves when we have, regrets and guilt and, self-blame and, judgment, self-judgment, and we're really hard on ourselves or others. But because we want to just focus here and everything starts within, the more gentle we become with ourselves, right? The more gentle we come with ourselves. How can you tell when I'm learning in my life right now? And accepting of our circumstances, accepting of who we are, who we were in a specific circumstance or situation, accepting who we are today, right? Deciding or at least thinking about how we may want to be different going forward for however long it takes us, especially if we're going through some life transformation and coming from really hurtful experiences or painful experiences. It's gonna take a while for us to get to be the human being that we perhaps for ourselves, believe that's the height of what we want to achieve for ourselves. And for me, it's, like up there in terms of completely compassionate and accepting and having a lot of tolerance. A lot of tolerance, because I think we need a lot of tolerance in this world if you're on this path. And you and I have talked before. How many people do you think are on this path? I don't know, 10% maybe? Hard to put a number on it. But the moment you decide, I believe this, I don't know what you think. The moment we decide there is more and I want more for myself, and I'm not talking physically, I'm talking consciously,
Right.
whatever it is that's going to drive you to that first, major step physically, like I'm just saying the big one, you, science of mind, me, unity, and going, oh, there's curiosity as well, but something drove me. There was a desperation that drove me to want reassurance that my baby was going to be okay and without judgment. And so I put together my roots as a Christian and my curiosity about metaphysics, okay, and I put it together to get the start of my spiritual practice that started in Unity Church.
Yeah, and mine, I was just sitting here thinking that mine started when was going to AA and Al-Anon meetings. And I met a really wonderful lady, and she was attending Science of Mind.
Okay.
And so she invited me to go. And that's how my start, because I didn't really know. I was evolving through the principles of Al-Anon,
Mm-hmm.
and it was bigger than it was more open, and I resonated with the principles in a more all-encompassing way. And
Do you want to just explain for people that may not know about Al-Anon, briefly, not your situation, but just what is Al-Anon? Okay, who is Al-Anon for?
okay, well, Al-Anon is for friends and relatives of people who are experiencing, I'll say, a reaction or whatever to another person's drinking. So they don't have to be living with an active alcoholic like I was, but they definitely have to be reacting to another person's drinking.
The group itself, so not going down that path, but the group itself, you resonated with their principles,
There's principles, yeah.
which were, I'm assuming, based in compassion, gentleness, safety, all of these things. And then from that, so you came from a very difficult situation that actually led you to Science of Mind.
Correct.
And that's the point I want to make, is that so we may have a curiosity if we're resonating with our actual purpose to be on the planet from childhood. And I'm not talking about careers here and stuff like that, but I will say part of that actually maybe the part of that, a career or, celebrity or anything like that, could very well be a major part of someone's purpose, but it won't be to be the celebrity. It'll be to deal with something that happens in an identity that's huge for that person and that most of us don't experience, which is a whole different ballgame. And some people have to play out their lessons and their extreme, well, they might not be extreme, but they're made extreme because they're under the spotlight, circumstances, situations that a lot of people go through, but they have chosen a stage, quote, a stage, unquote, to do that as somebody very, very famous, for example, where they're subjected to much more scrutiny than the rest of us are going to go through behind closed doors. And so how we present in the world, how we come into this world, how we move through this world, which can change, by the way, also plays a huge role in how we either get in touch with our lessons and maybe somebody is brought to their knees as a public humiliation, or a situation where they're canceled, when cancel culture was pretty rampant, or financial bankruptcy, ruin, somebody's stolen a bunch of money from them, like, divorce, and like all these other things that they might be more impacted. A person might be more impacted or lose more just by what they have created and manifested in their life, like millions and millions and millions, which a lot of us don't create because we don't need it or want it. But I'm just saying, whatever brings us to our stirring of an awakening, because I believe that we awaken, but it's not like it'll be very powerful. Oh my goodness, it'll be very powerful, but it won't be like the awakening when it's peaceful and comes from knowingness. It'll be the awakening that happens just to get you awake to get on that path.
Right. It's just an opening.
An open, yeah. Oh, I love that. An open.
Yeah, it's an opening for a new dimension of thought to come in.
Yeah.
That I would never ever have known otherwise.
Yeah.
And
I had about you. I didn't know that's how you actually found science of my. But I never asked you.
well, I have never even thought about how I found it.
Oh,
So
that's a huge piece.
Yeah.
Because it kind of, well, I'll ask you,
Hmm.
does it kind of, we haven't talked about this, and not going into too deep a detail, but does it kind of help you make sense of that relationship that was quite painful and difficult for you?
Oh, my gosh, I would have never gone on to want to be a minister and start my studies and
Right.
have a philosophy, spiritual philosophy slash religion slash whatever you want to call it, suspect practice that I resonated with. Like I absolutely, like I was alive going to my Sunday services and going to my classes after work.
Yeah.
Twice a week.
Oh.
Stuff like that. And it was just like I was just so alive. And during that time, then like I got very sick with my fibro, but I still had my spiritual family. And even though I wasn't going to that church at the time, I had then gone on to another practice.
Yes.
And whatever. But anyways, I'm just saying that for me to get on my spiritual growth journey, that was the Al-Anon was the beginning.
Al-Anon was, and this is huge because we have not talked about this before.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit.
Well, I have never even wrote about it in my book.
Because it was an early piece in your 20s that happened long time, probably almost 50 years ago, maybe, right?
Yeah.
45, 50.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't credit things that happened, really early in our lives, if we're a little older, that were the kickstart to something. But I'm a believer, a huge believer. If this didn't happen, this wouldn't happen. This wouldn't have happened.
Right.
This is like a domino effect.
Exactly.
And I talk about it in some of my other work.
Yeah.
When we get frustrated, understanding the order of the universe.
Yeah.
So part of this introduction, so we just talked a little bit about introduction to an awakening, of either I am meant to follow this path, or all of a sudden you find yourself curious and embracing new knowledge, and it's opening up, the mind, opening up the thinking, so as we don't feel trapped. But in the beginning, you might not kind of understand. You're processing, and every piece of information that comes into our life, whether or not we remember it in older years or not, it forms part of the foundation.
Correct.
It's like another brick
in
the foundation. Well, they don't really have brick foundation, but you know what I'm saying. A brick in the wall, a piece of the tapestry that eventually, without that, wouldn't have gotten us to the next step, the next step, the next step. And those pieces can get bigger and bigger and bigger the more advanced your consciousness becomes. And it should, because there comes a point in your life where you are very well established if you've kept to your practice, and it becomes a life practice, right? It just becomes a way of living.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to go to church. It doesn't mean you have to have readings. It doesn't mean, with someone all the time to do check-ins. It doesn't mean that you yourself have to become a practitioner to prove you've got all these skills. It only means that you are living in touch with your most truest self. Your most truest self.
Yeah, you don't have
I have had.
you don't have to have anybody in your life
Exactly.
to be living true to your spiritual truth.
Right. It's your spiritual truth.
Mm.
So actually, even when we just say these words spiritual truth, and I think about them vibrating, spiritual truth.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it in all caps right at the moment. Okay. Because it to me represents the highest degree you can earn on this planet. If you want to look at this planet as we're all here as life students, and what for? Nobody knows, but most of us with a spiritual practice
Yeah.
agree that we're here to find, conquer, master our lessons, and ultimately take charge of our lives and live the life, often giving back in different ways um, at this level of vibration, this level of consciousness that produces this high level of vibration, where you can basically, I'm just going to use the word survive anything here, but deal, because this world's a tough place.
Yep.
And our lessons are not easy, folks. They're not easy. I do believe when you're done with lessons. I actually believe that. Like, the lessons are done. For me, they're done. And now it's putting it into motion as the master apprentice of all that I've learned. So I'm in the master apprentice stage, if you will, of understanding, putting all the pieces together now. And I may well remain a master apprentice until my transition, when I go, I graduated. Or, it's just, there is no word for it, actually. So that's all coming to me for the very first time, by the way. And it's all coming to me for the very first time as I'm speaking to you. And that's going to happen to each of us who chooses the awakening for that purpose. And why else would you? As we evolve through our expansion, our learning, and it was sort of pointed out to me in my reading, you go through this sort of like, BA, master's, and then your own PhD program. And so that's your lessons, right? And then you've done your PhD, and okay, now what are you going to do? So most people, when they've done their PhD, they go off and they get a job as their doctors, right? They're doctorates, but new to the field. And that's why I use the word master apprentice, because if we are our own PhD program, right, then I got to master now what I have learned, put it all together, and now actually bring it into fruition, bring it into reality in my life. And I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure how I'm doing that. Not quite sure yet.
And for me, I just take one day at a time, and sometimes I feel like I'm on day one of the learning curve, and some days I feel like I've got it handled and I pretty well know what I'm doing. So
Right.
yeah, I don't I don't assign any kind of for myself, where I'm at. Just
Right.
one day I've got it.
Yeah.
One day I don't, and even at that can change throughout a day. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I will say the difference, no right, wrong, but why I'm explaining it in the terms I am is because my reading did confirm for me why I'm here. And I have those pieces. And before I didn't. And I was feeling, I wouldn't say lost, but I was feeling very uncertain. There seemed too much for me to focus on as possible paths to go down, and this narrowed it for me. I know he's important in my life in terms of and when I say important to the incarnation's, purpose, and narrowing that all down for me, just I can go on a straight path now. It's kind of like getting, making a beeline for the highway instead of taking all the back roads. And I needed that for me. Not everybody's going to need that. I needed that. And by the way, when I had my reading, I didn't know that's what I was going to get.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wasn't consciously
Yeah.
aware
Yeah.
that's what I needed.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Mm.
We set ourselves up um, for achievements, I will say. This is what I'm hearing. Achievements throughout different phases and stages of our life, and even ages, I would say. Phases, stages, ages. Because we do different things, you know. I mean, I'm not going to become a mother in my 60s, right? So there's ages that it's appropriate unless they're adopted, but biologically you have your children and, you know, you do certain things sometimes. And so take that, leave that, ages, phases, stages. But what I am saying is these, when we are committing to that path and going, no, I have come here for a higher purpose. I'm curious. I want to learn, even if you feel like a newbie. The minute you understand you're here to learn and want to learn, your gifts will be shown to you. Your teachers will be shown to you. Everything will be shown to you the more that you embrace what you're here to actually embrace. That's how it happens. It's not all dumped in our lap, in other words, right? That's the journey, right? We do different things and each thing, and I'm not even suggesting that we look for lessons or anything like that in every experience, because I think that we've talked a bit about lessons in the past. You know, those are things that kind of keep at us, and we just know we're supposed to be getting something, and we're not getting it, and you know, those. If you think it's a lesson, it's a lesson. That's all I'm gonna say, right?
Whatever you think, you're creating. So
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
but I do believe that we have we I'm hesitant to say this, that we have to, but pretty much I think we do, to evolve. I think we do, most of us, if not all of us, choose to put ourselves through certain things, some which are painful, okay, others which are perhaps glorious and wonderful, which, by the way, we never really consciously talk about lessons and all the wonderful stuff that happens to us. We only talk about lessons and the difficult stuff that happens to us. So, but there are lessons in goodness too, I think. And I'm not going to expand on that today because there are lessons in goodness, and I think it can be to just, um, in very briefly, to um, enhance our ability to feel compassion and to feel unconditional love, and those things that really is so simple. The world really, in its purest form, operates on love. That's it. That's it. Love. And so the more that we love ourselves, and the more we can extend that same feeling, not a different one, but that same feeling to others beyond our children and our closest relationships. That therein lies the difficulty, because people don't yet get that. They just don't get that, you know, which is why there's certain people in the world working to help change consciousness and to understand the importance of how you want to function, vibrate at your inner core. It's that simple.
I'm just trying to get through every day the best I can.
Well, I know. But see, so this is something that we just feel. This is something that when your ultimate disposition or thought, let's just stick with thought that creates our disposition. Anyway, is to be positive, to I'm not even going to talk about health or unhealth because that stuff is in the physical. I'm just talking about just the mental state, the emotional, like to just wake up feeling, um, I don't even want to say grateful at this point, but a lot of people talk about gratitude, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about at your most, do you feel at peace with yourself? I think that's what I'm looking for. Do you feel at peace with where you are today and where you're headed? And even if you're not achieving what you want to be achieving quite yet. Do you trust yourself enough to take yourself there? Ultimately, I think that's how I would offer things to younger people, certainly who are struggling. And then there's a bunch of tools to help you with that. Okay. I'm not saying that you just do that. But the key piece here is, I think, deciding whether or not you want to um, be a willing student of life, essentially, and pursue that which cannot be seen, that which creates all of this wonderful stuff that just happens when you have an inherent state of being as one of a higher vibration. So let's talk quickly about so we agree higher vibration is really rooted in all the positive, but at the highest, it would be love,
Correct.
unity and love.
Correct.
Everybody unified and love, and what others would describe as kumbaya. There's probably some truth to that word kumbaya. But bringing it down a step, and just joy is high vibration, happiness, giggling, like wonder, curiosity, like a whole bunch of any positive emotion is of higher vibration. And a really good book to read about energy and attached to emotion is Dr. David Hawkins, The Power versus Force. It's called Power versus Force. It was a book that helped me years ago. Really super good book. Anyway, um, what do you think just being in that state um brings to you, just in terms of, I'm not talking about external, just inwardly, when you choose to stay in, return to, but have as your go-to, um, s- you know, vibrating speed, one that's higher. What does that feel like for you? What does it bring you?
Oh, I think um, I guess peace.
Yeah, the peace was in my head. I was going, say peace,
Yeah.
say peace.
Your magic word.
Yeah, no,
No,
right?
peace, I think, would be the ultimate, um,
Like I didn't.
emotion, the ultimate emotion that
Right.
I want to attain,
Yeah.
throughout most of my day would be peace.
Right.
And so,
I agree with you on that.
yeah.
I agree with you on that, because in your immediate
Mm.
environment where there could be challenges, or
Mm.
I don't know, people bugging you, because people just bug us today, don't they? Um, Amazon coming late, or technology problems, or customer service difficulties, and all of this stuff. But that inner state of just wanting to be, I got this.
Yeah.
I got this.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That's what I want to, is a state of inner peace.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. And because I'm the only one that can create it with my thoughts, nobody else can do this for me. So no matter what is going on in my outer world, I am the one that has the ability to go to that place, to create that thought,
Hmm.
to bring me peace. And that's what I find, quite often is very trying, depending on what's going on in my life, whether it's health issues or whatever is going on in my life, right? But mostly right now it's health issues,
I know.
right? So I just, and so I don't feel at peace a lot of the time, and so that's okay.
You don't. I'm going to actually ask you about that, though,
Because I have anxiety and
yeah.
and a constant state of,
Okay.
wondering how can I fix this? What can I do? How can I get out of this? Like, how long is this going to last this time? And then, so rather than just being with it and allowing it to be what it is
Hmm.
for however long it needs to be, I go into the anxiety around it and then have all of the stirring the pot, right, kind of questions. But rather than just quiet and saying, okay, so today, like I'm getting better with my fatigue, which is, okay, so I'm really, really tired right now. So I have chronic fatigue, guys, just in case.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was serious chronic fatigue right now. And so I'll be standing at the kitchen counter and I will have to go and lie down just on the couch.
Yeah.
I will have to.
Yeah.
And so I don't get anxiety over that.
No.
I don't get, bent out of shape. I go, okay, I'm tired. I know what I need to do when I'm like this, so whatever. But other things that cause me anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
I am not so easily able to switch it.
So this is
Into that sort of just the acceptance of what the situation is.
yeah.
And, that's, yeah.
So I just want to say here, first of all, super big thank you, sis, to doing these episodes when I know you're struggling with chronic fatigue,
Mm.
because those
No, but I also want to say this is one of the things that is so therapeutic for me. I go home and I'm walking on cloud nine,
all that's
because I feel that not only has this been a wonderful sharing experience, but I've also been able to, stand in my spiritual truth. Today, my spiritual truth is I am very, very fatigued and I accept where I am and I love who I am and I will be at peace about this situation.
so
So I don't fight it
yeah.
and I don't say, that I should be, with all the knowledge that I have, I should be ascending. I don't say all those things that deter me from just staying in, like we said, that peaceful place of just acceptance of where I'm at.
So this is a really key thing. So even given all of the conversation, which I probably did most of that delivery of content in the first part of this, it's very important to understand that too, especially if you're newbie. Okay, it's very important because we've learned this over the years through books.
Oh, yes. This doesn't come in, this doesn't often, this
Right.
teaching and then acceptance of the teaching and knowledge, it doesn't
6
come
years.
in like 2 days
No,
or even 2 years.
no, and we've been working with the angels, me since 2005, you for maybe earlier years.
I'd say
Same.
2000.
So 19 years, almost 20 years. And so, and then when you're doing that kind of work, we did happen to become practitioners as part of both of our purposes.
Mhm.
But when you're already imbued with that energy, like you can't help but sometimes get a bit of a crash course, but B, refine the information over years. So, but this is why we're sharing. But also what's just so important now moving into this part of it, which will take us to the top of the hour here, but is just acknowledging, and this is something I wanted to say, and I'm going to say it. So no matter how advanced we become in our consciousness and all of this practice, and we know all this stuff, and, have had wonderful periods in our life and are fantastic manifestors, et cetera, all of which is true, all of which is true. We still get hit with what Brenda's just talking about, physical things that are actual limiting, debilitating sometimes, very painful. That's the human part of us. So I really thank you for talking about that, because people who are watching this, I don't want anyone, or listening to this, I don't want anyone to be sitting there going, yeah, well, they already got it. Which is what happened to me when I became bereaved, and I was desperate to learn my next phase of my learning from, at that time, a whole bunch of people that were world famous because of The Secret and or had been in the business for quite a while. And they were all too successful, or at least led me to believe they were too successful for me to even make a step towards that. I was down on the floor, writhing in pain, not wanting to live. And we've done many episodes on topics related to that. So we're not talking about that there. So we see you, we feel you if you are there. And we understand that. And so I'm so glad after years of all this and the knowledge, because you've got it too. We wouldn't frankly be soul sisters if we weren't.
Oh, yeah.
And this
Well, yeah, no,
path,
oh, yeah.
vibration.
The practical
Yeah.
teaching. Absolutely.
Well, you've also lived it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. I've emanated it many,
lived
many,
it.
many years. Yes. Yes.
So what you're saying that's so important is one, the acceptance. That's huge. And I actually wrote it down here is to accept the practice, accept the health, accept it's a spiritual practice. We're practicing it. We're living it, but we're practicing all the time. And part of that has to be accepting those conditions or days or moments when it feels too much.
Yep.
And so I'm so glad you said that because, again, we've talked about it before. It's so important to remember that and not put the expectation on ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, you should know better.
Which I do. Okay. Which I have done. I'm refraining from doing that any longer.
Good.
I'm making that choice to not go back to that place because I know I have the teachings. I know I have the knowledge. I know I have the solution, SOUL, solution.
Yeah,
But
I love that.
there's also the physical complications that come in
Yes.
that derail me. And so I was beating myself up saying, you didn't get it. You missed something along the way, like you're teaching, you're this, you're that, all the things I talk about in my book, right?
Yeah.
And I go, Brenda, that's all ego. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. You're where you are because you need to be where you are and just be with it. And so don't look for any kind of explanation or situation or thing you need to change or fix or whatever. Just be with you are right in this moment. And with everything that happens in life, this too shall pass. Don't know when it's going to pass. Yeah. Sometimes it is hours. Sometimes it's minutes. Sometimes it's longer. But everything is in motion. Everything. We're always in motion. Like you were talking about, earlier about we're vibrating. We're vibrating. We as human beings are constantly in motion. Yeah. So everything will change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it for emotion, energy,
Mm-hmm.
motion.
Yep.
Emotion.
Yeah.
Energy that's always in motion.
Yeah.
And that's who we are at our core.
Yeah.
I have a few things I'm going to leave you with when we do finish here, but I did just want to say that that's very, very important what you're saying. I love what you say about solution. Brenda's always coming up with stuff like that. And SOUL. But it is also, I just think, to not be hard on ourselves wherever we are in our journey.
Yeah.
We can slip, we can fall, as long as we know how to get ourselves back up when we want to and are ready to. But the other thing I want to say to you is when you were talking is the word respite came to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how you're always on me about rest, slow down, slow down. It's almost like the mind, the ego, right? The ego tormenting me to do more, and feel like I'm wasting time if I'm not running around doing something.
Correct. Yeah.
And I'm not. And
What do you mean finish that? I'm not what?
wasting time. And I took the whole weekend off. Today's Tuesday, and I took this past Saturday and Sunday completely off. Completely. And by that, what I mean is I did basically nothing and laid on the couch and binge shows and watched YouTube and stuff like that. But I still felt like I had completely wasted
Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But what if I didn't?
Mm.
What if I was just restoring my energy that was already tired because we just got back from travel and stuff? What if I was doing that? Hey? So it's about being able to change your thinking, your thoughts about why are you admonishing yourself if you do the same thing, which you're doing when you're looking for a reason to not be in the state you are in that moment.
Correct.
It's really self-admonishment.
Right.
You should know better. You shouldn't be sick. You shouldn't be. But what if it is all about respite and just really resting?
Yeah.
Because A, you can.
Yep.
Oh, thank God.
I know.
And B, you need it.
Yeah.
And so we're always texting each other every day. Rest. Make sure you rest.
Yeah.
Don't overdo it. And just enjoy.
Yeah.
And stay in that tranquil
Yeah.
place within that we shall call peace. And just let it be okay.
Yeah.
And if you get out of it, and by the way, that is my goal. You and I are both aligned in wanting to stay in this state of peace, inner peace.
Yeah.
Because love and all that comes after it. You can't love and you can't do any of these other wonderful things unless you're at a peaceful place in your own state of being.
Exactly.
So that's why the peace is going to come number one for me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to remember what we're talking about today. And then when I forget, I'll be editing it and then I'll remember again. But no, seriously, I'm going to remember this. I'm coming away with this as a reminder to myself, yellow sticky on my brain, state of inner peace. State of inner peace. That's what I want to be in. So I'm going to leave you. Do you have anything else you want to just leave them with? So what I'm going to leave you with, because I did prepare a few things, what are we going to talk about today? And some of what we talked about, as always happens to me, I go, well, that was a gong show, as Sky would say. And then I'll come out and I'll go, oh no, it was pretty articulate. It was pretty coherent. It was pretty good. Okay, all right, I can publish it.
It actually makes sense. We know what we're saying. We know.
Anyway, okay. Anyway, so what I did want to leave you with as either a newbie, somebody on this path, somebody very advanced in consciousness, but hey, checking out these soul sisters with us, right there on the path with us, is to always know your reason. Know your reason for why you're choosing to think a certain way, react a certain way, feel a certain way. Just know the reason. I think we all know deep down when we feel crappy that we're choosing and want to feel crappy because feeling crappy can feel good. We can get things off our chest, whatever. It doesn't matter. It'll be whatever it is for you, but know your reason. The angels told me to say that. And the other really, really important things, to consider when we're going for this inner state of peace, the high vibration. Let the love come later. But this is inner state of peace as its own high vibration. Okay. We also, I think, an acceptance of where we are in our health and spiritual practice at all times. Okay, which can vary, but we never lose, especially in a spiritual practice. We never lose all that we've gained. It doesn't matter.
It's always there. It's like opening a book to page
Absolutely.
50 or whatever. And then you think like you're back on page 1. Well, hey, but you still know what was on page 50.
You'll jump to 50 in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because you already know the stuff.
Yeah.
Riding a bike.
Yeah.
So whatever the health is telling you or the situation is telling you, your inner state of actual knowing is not going to change. Okay, that's what gets you back to center. The other thing I wanted to just say is when you change your energy, you change the energy around you 100%. Okay, and we're talking for the positive here. You change your energy, raise your vibration, it does have a ripple effect and it does change the people around you. And it also changes your environment. And that's what opens the door for opportunities and actual more positive change to start physically manifesting for you because you attract what you send out. Bottom line, know what you want, of course, but even when you're not wanting anything specific, just changing that energy, swapping it up a bit, vibrating, keeping that vibration high in this consciousness. It's a conscious decision to go on staying in peace, staying in a peace, staying in a peaceful state. It will go out and ripple around you, and all of a sudden you're, hey, I actually had a great day. Hey, they're not being so nasty to me today, or whatever. You see things differently. Okay. And within that, I also want to say as a reminder, the angels are telling me to say as a reminder that you can't change others. So even when you are if you are in a situation where others aren't growing at the same speed as you are, your personal relationships, they're not interested in this stuff at all, you can't change them. All you can do is keep to your spiritual truth and watch the changes happen around you in whatever way they're meant to happen, and you are creating for them to happen that way. It's very important. And sometimes you have to be the bigger person.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that.
To do that.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't say it was personally happening to me. But sometimes you do have to be the bigger person. And sometimes you're the teacher, and sometimes you're the mentor, and sometimes you're the student. So we do have an effect on those around us, including our children, when we choose to live in this higher vibration, spiritual truth, state of peace, right? We just do. And I think that's about all I really wanted to say about that. And drink chai. No, I don't know. That's our next spiritual truth. Oh, I'm gonna have chai together. Yeah, you ready for your chai? Anyway, I hope this has been of some help to you. Again, when we finish the episode, and we're about to stop recording, I'm sitting here going, I hope that made sense. But they all have so far, and this part 14 will too. And it will reach the folks that will take, what you need to take from it for your own journey and learning and advancing of your own consciousness at this time in your life. And we will send you off on that with lots of love. I'm Juan.
I'm Brenda.
And together we are the Soul Sisters. Really happy to have you on the journey. Thank you. Love you guys. See you next time.
Bye.